out that we ain't scared no more. Seen so many things, so none's new to me. Believe so many dreams.
So on that last show, Tiny the Terrible was on that show. Any thoughts on Tiny the Terrible?
I didn't know much about Tiny Terrible. I had seen him work for Joe Eugenio a few times. He never really talked to me because, again, he had his own clique of those little vets that I say those little vets, no pun at all intended. He had that little clique of vets that they kind of like stayed to themselves in the locker room, I had not been accepted into that locker room yet over in Joe Eugenio's house. And so Tiny the Terrible would never, he'd probably say hi and I'd say hello, but we had no comms, no communication.
Okay. Most people that talk to Tiny around Tiny have a Tiny story. He's usually pretty outrageous.
I've heard he was, but I don't know anything specific.
I finally got a hold of him the other day on a phone call. I actually texted him, asked him about interview, and I get back, "You better have money, motherfucker."
Ridiculous.
I'm like, yeah, I ain't making no money. This shit's costing me money, dude. And I ain't even working. I'm like, I gotta work. And then he, I guess, found out who I was, and he called me like 3 days later. He's like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're cool. Okay, maybe I'll do an interview for you." And then last night at like 2 a.m., he called and left me a message. "Whose number is this?"
Unreal, man. Sounds like him, I guess. Nothing's
like,
changed.
Whose number is this? Is this Donna? This is Donna's mom. I'm sorry for calling so late.
Oh my God.
And I guess he's got a flip phone, so he can't do Zoom or something, he told me.
Wow. That's cool.
I just thought the whole thing was funny when he like yelled at me the first time about, you got any money? I was just like super nice, texting him back. I'm like, "Oh, I hope you're doing well, Tiny. Okay, And I was like, "I'm friends with Jose and Vert and this guy. And I never heard of them motherfuckers."
That's funny.
I'm like, "Oh, okay, man. Okay, I hope you're doing well. If you ever change your mind, get a hold of me. I just want to get Primal's name out there." And I meant Kyle, and then I put everybody's real name, asked if you're wondering, just ask them about me. I'm all right. I'm not trying to make no money or nothing. I'm not with HBO or anything. And then, and at the end he put, "And hail New Jack." And I was like, "Oh yeah, and RIP New Jack." I was just like over the top nice and everything. I responded,
Yeah, of course.
I also on that show was the Millennium Killers, Gino and Ali. Did you have any interactions? Did you know them at all?
I did not. Chops, I can't comment. I did not know him.
Okay, no, that's fine. Mark Thunder, did you know him at all?
It sounds familiar, but I must not have any close interaction with him. I know the name, but I don't know anything about him.
It's fine. If the guys you don't know, we just skip through them. I just like to throw them out there. So probably most of these other guys you didn't, because they didn't really work Yankee Pro or that side. The NEW, there was kind of like a separation, the NEWA guys and the Yankee Pro guys.
I remember that.
It's the same way when I interview the NEWA guys. I ask them about the Yankee Pro guys that stayed in Yankee Pro. They're like, "Yeah, I didn't really work him much." So I think that about covers it. Unless you got anything on Johnny Justice, YMC Andy. Did you have any contact with him?
I remember YMC Andy. He was very nice, and I always thought he's kind of weird and creepy. For obvious reasons, He was like the evil camp counselor. What a great gimmick, though, But off stage, great guy, very, very respectful, and he didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and he was always very, very nice to me. So. Other than that, I don't have any wild stories about YMC Andy, but he was cool. He was always cool with me.
How about Pretty Boy Hernandez?
Pretty Boy Hernandez was cool. He worked with Las Boricuas back in, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. Las Boricuas back in Yankee Pro. So that was when I first had started. I was still wrestling the likes of Johnny Idol, Aaron Morrison, and Las Boricuas is him, Jose, Little Killer. Remember the short dude, Little Killer, and Pun, Don Vega. And Hernandez was always really cool to me. So him and Jose kind of stayed to their own like sides, their own little cliques. But I say little cliques, I just wasn't accepted into that clique. And by the time I had been accepted into that clique by Kahuna, Colossus, all them, he was already elsewhere. Pretty Boy Hernandez was working elsewhere. But I do remember Hernandez, we didn't really talk, but I'm sure you remember Davey Cash, Highlight Kid. Him and I got into a real, an actual like fight at PAL. And Silvano Souza was the booker at the time, rest his soul as well. And Silvano saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but he put the strap on me that night, the lightweight strap. This is, going to Yankee days. And Highlight Kid was pissed. He was pissed because he had been there, building rings for Joe Eugenio since he was probably like 12, and this dude was heated, and it was visible. He made it known that he was freaking pissed that I was getting that title. And I think back now and I'm like, why didn't you just go talk to the booker about it? Why are you getting me on it? You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't my choice, but anyway, he was freaking heated. So we had to do a run. I won the lightweight title. We had done a run-in later that night onto somebody to save somebody. I had to have been a heel. Yeah, I was. We had done a run-in, a bunch of us, like the whole locker room cleared out. And I'm in there. Here comes some dude from behind and starts beating me on the back of the head and boo, boo. It's fucking Highlight Kid. And I'm like, this motherfucker. So, we're returning shots. People now, what they were breaking up in the ring, now they're breaking us up. And he scatters to the locker room. Here's fucking 19-year-old me, hot, bro. And I come into the locker room, down those stairs at the PAL, and I'm like, where the fuck is the Highlight Kid? And it was Pretty Boy Hernandez. He was the first one I saw. I'm like, where the fuck is he? Where the fuck is Davey? He's like, I don't fucking know where he is. The fuck out of here. And I was like, all right, noted. So we ended up, that was like my only interaction with Pretty Boy Hernandez, But to finish that story, if you're interested, we ended up, I was looking for this motherfucker. He had grabbed his bags and fucking left because the dude fucking cheap shot at me. So I went outside looking for this motherfucker, and then I caught him outside, and we started fucking exchanging words, and a Florida cop came, and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm like, don't worry about it. To the cop, like, this has to do with us inside. And the cop's like, well, then keep it inside. So, we scattered, and that was the end of that. But me and Davey, Highlight Kid, we had a feud, man, like a legit feud for some reason. He did not like me. I did not like him. I remember we had a show, I think it was in Plymouth, and we were in this like big three-way, I don't know what it was. And I took him, and the thing was we were supposed to fight to the back. You know what I'm saying? So I go and I throw him through the curtain. Like I go to send him backstage into the curtain. Apparently there was a door open, and he hit his head right on that door and busted that dude open. And I was like, when I saw what happened, I was like, my jaw dropped, and I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know that door was freaking open. He was like, what the fuck? He's like, I don't even have insurance. He fucking laughed. And I was like, oh man. It was just one bad thing after another that didn't allow us to heal. But one way or another, after years of us, I guess, working and us growing up, we mended ways. It was like an unspoken thing, and we had just said, whatever, it's cool, good to see you. And then we'd actually work and have good matches together, and there was no more beef. And he would always joke around after the fact, all that beef had passed, that Louis gave him his pot in his head from that door in Plymouth. And it was a joke now, there was no heat between us, but that was a legit story, man. We hated each other, bro. I don't know why, but we couldn't stand each other.
Do you think you two are vying for the same spot?
Absolutely. That's what it was. I think, especially because knowing he was pissed that they were putting me on top and not him. And we just wanted to be, he was probably thinking like, this guy's green, he sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, fuck you, you're a cocky, arrogant prick. There was just, we didn't know how to separate business and real life. So I think we were just shooting to be the best we could in the lightweight division. And it didn't mix well. And we brought that shit out into the real world too.
Vying for the same spot and maybe similar in many ways.
Similar in many ways. As I mean, we kind of weighed the same, and our style of wrestling. He was a lot better of a high flyer than I ever was, and but we were in that like bracket. When you talked about lightweights, we fell into that division, and I think he wanted to be. I think it was. He had been with the company since he was a kid, literally helping build the rings, setting up chairs, and I didn't know about that shit. I had never gotten that foot in the door that way. And I think it rubbed them the wrong way when they started putting me over, especially because somebody like Silvano Souza, who knew Davey as a kid and just took a liking to me, whatever the reason was, it didn't rub well with him at all. He did not appreciate that at all.
Because honestly, as a lackadaisical fan, I went to Yankee Pro shows. I wasn't like a diehard that went to every one. I went to one here and there and went to South Coast shows here and there. And I always found you two similar, like not like looked alike, not did the same exact moves, but like if I was a booker and had to fill a spot and I was looking for this certain spot, you two would fill the same void, I think.
I think that's why they paired us together match-wise. Like, we had a lot of matches together. I say Vert and I would wrestle a lot, but Davey and I, when we were in Yankee Pro, we would wrestle a lot too.
I'd almost say I almost thought of you two at one point would have made a good tag team. I didn't know your personal issues, but if you two got along good personally, you two would have made a good tag team.
Yeah, and I think even if we didn't get along, I think if we knew how to put that aside, we probably would have done the same regardless. But, it didn't work out that way. Instead, they tagged me with Sean Candido. Do you remember him? We meshed well. I don't know what it was, but we meshed very, very well. That was when we were like the boy band together, because he was brought into that with me, and they gave us the straps and we held on to them. I remember the only reason the straps were taken off of was because I had a lower back injury caused by him, because we had wrestled each other like out of town, and he gave me this like jacked up power bomb, and something happened and they stripped us of the titles. So, but we meshed very, 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 very well together, Candido and I.
Yeah, it's just funny. I remember thinking at one point that you and Highlight Kid would have made a decent tag team, because he'd do the high flying and you could do the hardcore, and it almost balanced each other out, and you're the same size. And I don't know why I thought that. And you started talking about it, and that's the first thing that popped in my head when you started talking about and saying you didn't get along. I was like, oh, that's probably why they never tagged, because they didn't get along. They fucking hated each other.
That's probably why. You learn something new every day, don't you, Chop?
I remember being there and watching and going, how come they never paired these two up in a tag team? They look like it all makes sense now.
Yeah, that's true, man.
And Sean Candido, I remember him at the PAL Hall bleeding real bad one time when Nick Steele jumped him or something, and he was with Amanda Storm, and he come out under a mask and chair shot him or something. I don't think he get bladed either. I think it was Hardway.
That could have very well happened, yeah. Because I've bladed, I think, once in my career, and that was like all the others were legit, the chairs.
Yeah, it was when he had the blonde hair and stuff, and he was laying there, and there was a puddle. I remember being like, holy shit. I was sitting in the balcony. I'm like, I have it on tape. I want to say it was the second show I ever filmed. I brought a camera to, and I was just like, holy shit, look at that blood. And he picked up his head off the mat, and there was like a puddle there. I was like, wow.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He was a good dude.
This was in like 2000, I think, or end of 99, early 2000.
I probably wasn't around for that. I wasn't a thought. I was a thought, but I wasn't being used the way I thought I was being used. I should have been being used in Yankee.
At the PAL. I love that building, the PAL.
I love that place. It was my favorite place to work. I love that place.
I wish that would be made into something like a weekly wrestling show or every other week or something.
That would have been cool, man.
Like a TV studio, like do studio wrestling, old studio wrestling, but there.
That would have been we hoped for that. They thought there was they tried to do that with in New Bedford, where they would have the auction, the auction center where we'd work there. And they tried to do
that's
that.
where you did the bikini thing, right? That place?
That's right. That's right. And they tried to do like weekly. Like I remember them doing a bunch of promos with us, and nothing ever came out of it. They did one of me and Pun where we like I was having this interview in the back, and Punisher attacked me, and we had this like impromptu match all over the back of that place in the back. It was cool, and it was on like Channel 13, you know. And I was like, all right, we're gonna get somewhere with this, you know. And then we did like all sorts of promos because Steve Ricardo's really trying to hype this up. All sorts of promos for like don't do drugs and shit like that. And I remember, I'm not going to mention any names, but I remember there was this one guy, he was so high. And he was like, kids, stay in school. The most basic, message you could tell anybody. Kids, this dude's eyes were like apples, bro. Stay in school and don't do drugs. And I'm like watching this dude in the background, like, I'm like, who are you, motherfucker, to be telling any of these kids this? But maybe I'll let you know who that was offline. But
Oh, I was going to ask you that if Yankee Pro ever did TV or anything.
they did local TV, which I thought was the beginning of the Suicidal Silva era, but it quickly ended. It stopped, and I don't know. I think they had the potential. I think they still do. I don't follow wrestling like I used to at all. But from what I see, like I still follow a lot of the guys on Facebook, like Teddy Goods and stuff like that. I still, they seem to be doing a lot of shows and a lot of promoting, and I wonder why they're not on television, But I'm not sure. They did think about it. They did try it, I would say, but I guess it just never came into fruition.
Right. I know Ricard used to tape everything. I don't know if he still does. I mean, he records and everything. Is it just him not putting it on, or is it not connection? I mean, even YouTube, you can do a weekly YouTube show. Like, why wouldn't you do it? I don't understand.
I agree. I thought that was my access to the wrestling world, and unfortunately, it was not. And it came to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting concussed. It's not worth it to me. And not to disrespect the business, because I love the business. I love the inner workings of the business. I love the friends I made, the camaraderie I had there. It's not to disrespect the business, but I could no longer do it because I guess I grew out of it. And not saying that people grow out of it or anything, but I guess I just it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
Well, it probably would have helped if like a territory, grew up and you started getting a weekly thing and you started getting paid a couple $100 a week for it. And, if it was an actual side job or full-time job, it probably would have helped a little.
That absolutely is true. That would have helped because, I could have still worked my full time as the Blockbuster video manager and, did this as a side job. You know what I mean? Doing what I really love to do. Nobody grows up. Nobody as a kid says, I want to be the manager of Blockbuster Video. People grow up and they want to be outrageous things like movie stars, singers, pro wrestlers, etc. At least, I did. So,
I mean, you want to make WWE or whatever, but even if you didn't do that, if you had something where you could make $300, $400, $500 a week, and do another job, at least if it was worth it, you know what I mean? You weren't getting paid $10. You were doing something that was consistent and it looked like it was going somewhere and doing something, if it was a ECW or a TNA or a AEW or something,
No doubt about that, Chops. I would always, pray for that, but unfortunately, that wasn't the road that the universe had for me. So,
but with the TV thing, I've been starting to talk to people and mention maybe trying to start to put local leagues on my channel, if they want to get it out there and promote it. I just don't want to go and film. Like people are starting to ask me to go back and film shows and stuff, and I can't with my back and stuff. I can't do the travel and I can't stand to walk around the ring for 3 hours. But if they want to film, I got footage, send it to me, put it up on my channel. I'm starting to get the reach of, I just hit over 100,000 views. I've only been doing this for 6 months,
That's awesome, man. And especially because you're giving guys an opportunity to do that. Who knows? That might lead to the next, AEW star being found. Because I guess WWE isn't looking for independent wrestlers anymore. They're all trying to like recruit them. That's a sad thing, man, to me. And not to get on that topic because, I don't want to give those guys any more any more commercial than they already have. But that's kind of sad to me because, independent wrestling is where it's at. That's where all these guys started. Think about it back in the day, back in my era. And now they're just trying to recruit from like colleges and stuff. Like it's become so, it's like a job. It's like, they're recruiting now. I recruit for my job. And it has nothing to do with wrestling. Now it's like it was a different style of recruiting back in the day. It was like, Jim Cornette, Pat Patterson would go to territories or shows, independent shows, or, who was it, Pritchard, and they'd look, that's how they'd recruit. They'd be like, wow, that kid's got it. You know what I mean? Now it's totally different. It's like, how can we mold you to be what we want? It's just totally different. That's why I don't even follow it. And it's just, I don't have a sour taste to it. I just don't, it's just not what it used to be, man. And I'm sure you can attest to that. I'm sure you can say the same thing. And I think a lot of guys my age, my era, feel that same way. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm even older because I come up on the territory system. So I get both sides. I think even the independent style is getting too much too. Like AEW is all independent. There's too many, like you were saying earlier. There was too much blood and guts. They wore that out. Now the flips and flops is worn out. You need something different, and you need a mixture. There is nothing that has a good mixture. You need a Dean Malenko, you need a Sabu, you need a Jamie Payne, you need a good mixture across the board. You need a big guy, you need a small guy, you need a fat guy, you need a skinny guy, nobody has that.
Variety. You need variety. Everybody looks the same. People kick out of DDTs. People kick out of super kicks. You have to do it. So I'm going to quote the late, great Silvano Souza. That dude, when I was training, he would sit there. We'd go there on a Saturday, Sunday, me, Jason Blade. I don't know if you remember him, but we would like that up and coming era. And we'd do this crazy shit. And he'd be like, too much Hollywood, too much Hollywood, too much Hollywood. And it started to click. And I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's trying to teach me how to wrestle. You know what I mean? So
when was the last time you seen a 1 count?
I couldn't even tell you, man.
When was the last time you seen somebody get slammed down and go immediately for a cover?
Never happens.
Watch something from the 80s, the 70s, early 90s. Every time they threw you down, they went for a cover. You kick out, they throw you down. What's the object of the match? To win, right?
That's right.
Every time you do them down, you should be going for a cover. They don't no more. They pull you up to go for another move. They keep pulling you up. It makes no sense.
And it's moves that back in the day would have crippled you, so to say. Like you watched Jake the Snake and you're like, if he gets you in under that arm and DDTs you, you're going to be hurting, man. Now they'll give you one off the top rope and still kick out on 2.
They'll do 16 of them, and then 16 Canadian destroyers, then super kicks, and then they'll pin you with like a slap or something. And it's like, that don't make no sense. Or the partner will be in the corner waiting for a tag, and they'll go over and slap them, and they'll fall down and lay there for 15 minutes. It's like the DDT didn't kill you, but the slap did.
That's why I just avoid it now, because it's kind of like I just avoid it like I do politics, man. I just avoid it all.
or the suicide dive to the outside. They dive, you can see them touch them with their hand and barely touch them and push them, and they fall down, and 15 of them lay there. It's like you just did like a pile driver from the Empire State Building and got up, but this guy pushes you with his hand and you hurt.
It's too much, man. It's too much. It's like Silvano used to say, too much Hollywood, man.
My answer for what you're saying earlier is what Vince should do is build his own territory system and bring back whatever leagues he wants. Bring back ECW, put Paul Heyman's charge of it. Bring back SMW, put Jim Cornette in front of it. Bring back AWA, bring back WCW, bring back however many, and make a budget for each one. Put a booker in there and give them the budget. Like it's a legitimate. They run it. Here's how much money you got. You got to get your own sponsors. You got to book your own commercial time, and you run it. If you go bad, you get fired, and I bring another booker in. You got to hire your own talent, and you book them. The WWE champion is the world champion. I'll send him around to defend against your champions like Flair used to do.
Yep.
And as I see talent, I bring them to WWF and I buy out their contracts.
I don't think that'll ever happen, but that is a great idea.
Oh, it'll never happen, but that's, you want talent, you want a new league, you want different styles. You would get different styles because they'd be trained different ways in every territory. They wouldn't all be trained the same.
That's
the way
right.
they do it now, they're going to get trained the same. You know what I'm saying? By the same person.
Hope you don't mind, but I gotta wrap this up, bro.
That's fine. I was going to tell you, we can wrap it up unless you wanted to keep going. We're just
No,
chatting right now.
I got to do some stuff. I got to run some errands, and I would do this again if you want to.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's set up another day. And to let you know all this stuff in between, I can always edit into the other one if we do another one in the career, and I can use it for other stuff. I'm not just going to scrap all the stuff we talked about. I think it's usable footage, a lot of it.
Awesome, man. I'm sure if we talk about my career, I will probably re-mention it if you don't mind again. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll do yours, and if some of this stuff isn't mentioned, I can always edit it in or use it in a little clip like a hype video like I do. I don't know if you've seen any of the hype videos. I could use it like on. You don't have no websites or anything, right?
Nope.
And if it's new people like the Punisher or whatever, I'll have him also plug his websites and any upcoming dates, and I can put them on my website too.
That's pretty cool to do. Yeah, I'm just I lay low, bro. I lay solo. I'm trying to find peace, my inner peace, bro. And I got a wonderful lady now. I got a dog and a cat. Hopefully start a family here next year or so, and just kind of lay low, honestly. That's why you don't see me a lot on like Facebook, you know what I'm saying, or any social media. I just kind of like try and mind my own business.
Right, except for when I'm bugging you constantly, right?
But that's okay because, you know, I got back to you when I could.
Right, which is fine. You know, I'm just trying to help these guys out, and I want everybody to be remembered and stuff to be remembered. Like, you know, when Anthony passed and these people passed, I'm like, these people should be remembered, you know, and what they did and stories told about them.
Each one of us was there for a reason. We all left a little legacy, a little mark of some sort.
Right, that's why you did it and what you wanted, right? Why do that shit? You know, you didn't go and jump and hurt your back and jump through tables and shit for nothing, for everybody to forget it.
That's right.
You forget it yourself, and then I say something, and you're like, oh yeah, and you bring up a good memory, you know what I mean? So if I'm bringing up on this shit or showing a video of it, that's what happens. And if it's on the internet, somebody could Google it in 5 years and bring it up and go, holy shit, like me showing that video of you with the blood down your back, you know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, I remember that.
Yep. I showed my fiance that, and she was like, oh my God, what is going on? I was like, yeah, I know. But yeah. All right, man. I gotta go take care of some stuff. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Good time. Let's do it again on your career. Let me know when you're free or when you want to do it. And I mean, even if we do it like, you know, half hour, an hour here or there, I'm gonna do it 2 or 3 times, or do it one sitting, or however you want to do it.
That works. I appreciate it, man.
Like I said, I'm open to whatever. So.
All right, Chops. Take care, bro.
Thank you for sitting down with me, man.
Great time.
Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth for a while, man.
Yep. A lot of things have happened since we first met via, you know, online. So it's just been trying to handle life one step at a time, just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I go through it with everybody, so don't feel bad. Everybody I'm like talking to, and then we reschedule, and then they're not around, then something happens. So it's just I'm like doing this with like 40 people. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
I'm trying to do it with everybody, and everybody's like this, that, and other thing. I'm like, whatever, dude. If you can't do it, I don't care. You know, if you tell me you're gonna do it Saturday, then you can't. That's fine. You know,
right.
Main thing is try to answer me if you can. You know, just let me know. Hey, I can't do it because I hate sitting here on a Saturday going, all right, is he going to come online? You know, should I put the lights up? Should I put the screen up? Should I? Which this screen's new. I don't think I like it. This is a film screen. I haven't used this. Usually I use the green screen. Which I don't know how to do none of this shit. I'm new learning all this shit. I've only been doing it 6 months. 6 months ago, I didn't know how to upload a video. So this is all brand new to me.
All experimental to you too.
Yeah. I literally was cleaning my closet and ran across these old tapes and was talking to somebody online. They're like, hey, send me one of my old matches. I'm like, I don't fucking know how to do that, you know? And awesome. I YouTubed the thing, how to do it. And they learned how the fuck do you get something from a tape to online? I don't know. So I figured out how to do it.
I don't know either, honestly.
Right. So, watch a YouTube video.
So you plan on doing like this is going to be an all-out documentary that you're making on Primal Conflict? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to be a series. What I'm going to do is my plan. It's changed. So now what I'm thinking about doing is filming it all, getting all my footage, and figure out exactly how I'm doing it. The original plan was a weekly retro TV show. I'm going to put all. I guess apparently I'm the person with the most primal footage alive, or that anybody knows of. Nobody has primal footage, apparently, very little. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to put it online because I'm putting, wrestling footage online. So I figured I put it online. I was going to put it in order as much as I got. I'm missing some, but much as I got in order. And I said, what happened was I made the first video and Stallion seen it and messaged me. He's like, what are you doing? What's the plan? What's the plan, kid? And as soon as he said that, this idea popped in my head. He's like, what do you need? What do you want to do? Anything, any help you need, whatever you need. This idea popped in my head. I said, well, anything I need. All right. So what I like to do is a documentary style, the true story of Primal, no bullshit, no punches pulled. What happened, the rise and fall of Primal, backstage stories, outside the ring stories, fucking the good, the bad, and ugly. Not to bury anybody, but like the good. Hey, we were buddies. We did this. We got drunk. Right. Fucking whatever. Right. What happened? Why did it go around? Hey, when I come in, I thought we were gonna have pay-per-view. I thought it was gonna be big, and then this bullshit happened and it collapsed and whatever. But basically, if somebody looks at an apple and you ask 10 different people about that apple, 10 different people can describe that apple differently, right?
Yep.
Now, if I ask you about that apple 20 years later, 10 different people, the story is going to be even different, way different, right?
Sure.
So that's my idea on this documentary. That's what I'm doing. But it's going to be a weekly show. So I'm going to do, say, a week's TV and then insert like whatever matches I show that week, comments or memories on that match, stories. Mm-hmm. It don't necessarily have to be on that match. It's just on that time frame or that show.
I like that.
So say you and Vert wrestled on that show. You might be, hey, before that show, we were fucking talking and this was supposed to happen, but I got fucked up and we did this instead. Or after that show, we went for drinks and we did whatever the case, whatever stories you guys give me, I'm going to insert them in.
All right. Sounds good, man.
I think it's a good concept. It should be pretty cool.
I think it's cool.
And Primal's a good story for that. And then you add in the fan base that they had in the following. And I don't want to keep it just to workers. I'm talking fans, referees, announcers. Now you add all that in, your view is going to be different than King Kong Kermie's. Mm-hmm. Your view is going to be different than the guy sitting in the front row or the ring announcer or the referee.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, I thought it's a cool concept. So now I'm telling us that way, the interest is what got me when I mentioned it. Everybody's like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the shit I'm putting on the page, the interest I'm getting, everybody, that's what really got me going was the interest. I started putting shit up and people started messaging me, dude, thanks, man. My kid's never seen my matches.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Yeah. And it's just like, wow, that made me feel good. So it's got me more and more. I never even wanted to be on camera. I hate fucking being on camera. I've always been behind the camera. Like, I'll film you. You stand. What's that?
Were you a camera guy?
Yeah. I did. I don't know if you've ever seen chop cam stuff. Anything that said chop cam on the bottom.
I know you sent. You put some stuff on social media, like some old match that I had where it was like this crazy match between me, Fandango was in it.
You busted the back of your head open, the 4-way at yeah.
That one. That was cool. I hadn't seen that. I have that on tape somewhere back in Massachusetts because I live in Virginia now. So that's at like my parents' house, you know what I mean? So I haven't seen that since probably then. And that was like when I was in my early 20s. I'm 40 now. That was a long time ago, you know? Yeah.
I got Fandango through like I think 4 or 5 different name changes when he was
Johnny Curtis,
and he was fucking the mask gimmick there, and
he was Johnny Curtis when I wrestled him that day, I think.
Yeah, he was Curtis then, but what did he go through? 4 or 5 name changes before he even come to Curtis? He was like 3 different names, wasn't he?
Right.
You know, nobody remembers that. They remember Curtis, a lot of people, but all right, before that, what do you remember? Because I remember Armadillo with Frankie.
Frankie Armadillo, yeah.
Yeah, but he was Johnny Armadillo for a little while, if you remember.
Oh, was he? I remember him as Frankie because he used to go do Joe Eugenio shows.
Yeah.
And that's where I would wrestle him, was at Eugenio's house shows. And they were cool. They had this other kid, I forgot what his name was, but he ended up dying, I think, in a car accident around that time.
Yeah, Damien, Dancing Devil, Damien.
That's right.
Well, I was just talking about him.
That's
Because
right.
I liked him. That kid had it, I think. He had an it factor to him. I mean, he was green as grass.
Weren't we all, though, you know?
Yeah, but he had something that he connected with you, with the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was a cool kid, man.
I didn't know him personally, but I know every time he come out, and I always told everybody, I said, that kid, watch him, man. If he sticks with it, he's not great in the ring, but he has that charisma that makes you connect with him. And he was goofy as hell, you know, but he had something that connected you with him.
Yep.
I was just talking to Striker. I just did an interview with Striker the other day.
You talking about Mike?
Yeah.
Mike's a good dude. Him and I started training.
Pacheco, is that how you say his last name?
That's his real name. We started training together. Like, I came in one week and he came in the following week. And then, you know, everybody else comes in and everybody wants to be a wrestler. And him and I were the only two that survived that whole, you know, training crowd of, you know, old and new people who came in and it's like, I want to be a wrestler. Why do you want to do this? Because I want to be a wrestler. I like The Rock and shit like that. Him and I were the only two stuck with it. So that's cool. Mike and I still talk every now and then. His wife and I still talk every now and then. They're cool. They have a beautiful family together. So they've been together since, you know, the beginning of my wrestling career, beginning of his wrestling career. So that's cool.
Yeah, you were brought up. You know, he thinks highly of you.
Yeah, same. Likewise. Mike's a good dude.
He had a blast. He's like, yeah, let's do more. Let's do, that's what happens. To me, this is just talking wrestling. You know what I mean? That's what I do. I'm just a fan, a tape guy. I got so many tapes. I got so much of your shit, dude. You wouldn't even.
No, really?
Oh, yeah. I got a bunch of your shit. I posted the other one of the bikini contest with you.
That's when Mike Bennett came out to see me in that one.
Benoit, or whatever he was.
Mike
before
Benoit
he was even Bennett.
That's right. He went by Benoit. It was spelled Benoit, Benoit, but then he changes like Mike Benoit, and then now it's Mike Bennett, obviously. But he's a good dude, you know. I'm glad everything worked out for him. He's looks like he's found peace within himself. You know, he's sobered up whenever he had to in life, and that's great, man. He's got a beautiful family too. So it's good to see these cats that I used to work with on the independent scene and see him like, holy crap. So check it out. When I was in the Navy for 10 years, I got out of wrestling, did a few things, and then I joined the Navy because I'm like, I'm not doing anything with my life. So my last year in the Navy, I did 10 years in the Navy. My last year in the Navy, I was a recruiter for the Navy. And my job, they moved me out to Tennessee. So I got to visit like Jerry Lawler's restaurant and all that shit. You know, it's a fan's dream. So I went out there and I would talk to these kids in school because my job as a recruiter was to go to these high schools and talk to these kids about, you know, joining the Navy and why it's so great. And I would always tell them, I'd be like, you know, let me give you a little history about me before the Navy. And I would tell them, I'd be like, I used to do this. I'd be like, does anybody know Fandango? Does anybody know Mike Bennett? They'd be like, oh, I do. I'd be like, well, let me tell you something about them. You know, and I'd give them a little background on how we used to wrestle together when we were like kids, essentially. So it was kind of cool.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I know me and you never talked much, but we were at a lot of the same shows, like walking by each other. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man. Yeah. It's such a small, the wrestling community is such a small community. You know what I mean? You see so many people, and even though you don't talk, the respect's always there because we all play a small part in it, you know?
Right. Just so you know, with me, I was a camera guy a lot. I was just filming for myself, not for the company. And then everybody got to know me so much. It was just kind of, I stepped over the railing and was filming for them. And now it's like, what's that?
What companies did you do? You did Primal?
Yeah, I did it just for myself.
Uh-huh.
And then it ended up being for them, and none of them have the footage. And now I have the footage because I filmed it for myself, you know? That's awesome. And then I did it for NEWA. I used to do some Yankee Pro and a lot of South Coast just for myself, not for them. You know, Ricard did them, but I used to come in the crowd and just film it. I got a ton of South Coast shows and Yankee Pro shows. Awesome. Then Primal, and then George took over NEWA. You know George Carroll?
Sounds familiar.
He's now working for NXT. He went to work for New Japan, MLW.
Oh, really?
ROH. But he took over NEWA for a while, and we used to talk online all the time about wrestling, just old school shit. And he's like, "Come in," and he ended up taking me in to help him with booking ideas. I'm like, I don't know how to fucking book. And he's like, take over this match, do whatever you want with it. I said, I can't do that. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll sit and watch the matches, and I end up just critiquing matches and say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do? And I guess the problem was everybody was a yes man to him. And I used to just go, well, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why are you doing that? And he liked that of me. I was the only one that called out everything. So I ended up helping him with booking ideas and stuff and filming and selling my tapes at his shows and stuff. So I did that for a while. And that's mostly what I did, that filming. And I wouldn't call it booking. I don't know what you fucking call that, you know, on the booking committee. There wasn't no committee or anything, you know, it's independent wrestling, but just helping George out and just basically picking everything apart, basically. Like you want to do a tape fist match. I'd be like, well, why are you doing a tape fist match? And they go, well, I do this now. I go, well, if you're going to do that, you have to do this. Or you want to have a chain match, then you should have somebody run in and pull a small chain. And then the next week have them have a bigger chain. And then I'm old school, so I'm back to fucking Tully Blanchard. And you know what I mean? That's how I think.
Strap matches and shit like that. You guys are showing each other. You guys are helping each other out, essentially. I mean, ideas that you had and he didn't and vice versa. So it works out.
And to this day, shit, he got hired for NXT. He messaged me, bro. I don't forget you. Thanks. You know, he's like, you should have stuck with me. You'd probably be beside me. I'm like, fuck, that's the biggest compliment I could fucking get.
It is huge, yeah.
You know, and I don't think I did nothing for him. You know, I didn't do nothing. I just gave you my opinion on shit. But I remember telling him, I said, what you do is book backwards. Was the first thing I told him. I said, where you going? Now go backwards from there. Don't start at the beginning, start at the end, and go backwards. Where do you want to go? Now get there figure out how to get there. You know what I mean? Essentially, who's the killer? Now, how do you want to get to the killer? You know what I mean? If you're writing a book, if you're writing a mystery, and he was like, fuck, I've never thought of that. And ever since you told me that, I get it.
I never thought of that either. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a booker myself, so I never thought of that either. It's pretty smart.
It's the simplest thing, but anything you want to do, you want to write a movie? You want to write a murder mystery? You don't write the whole fucking book, then get to the end and go, gee, who's going to be the killer?
Find that out.
Right?
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I never thought of it like that.
And ever since I told him that, he's like, that's the biggest thing anybody ever told me up to that point. Awesome. Now booking stuff, it's easy. I know where I want to go. I want this tape fist match. I want this guy winning the title from him. Okay, how am I going to get him there to win the title? Now you can book it, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
Well, anyway, are you in a rush? Because this is what I do. We're here to talk Primal. I'll talk about your whole fucking career and shit. And then I end up doing it. Everybody I've talked to, we do this, and then we talk wrestling for a half an hour. And then I'm like, all right, next week, let's do a shoot with you on your career, and we'll just talk wrestling.
I'm good with that too. If you ever want to do that, by the way, that's cool too.
I will, if it don't take us as long to do it as this did.
True. All right, what you got for me for Primal?
No, I am down for that though. I'm down there with that with everybody. I just did one with Punisher.
Awesome.
Vega.
Yeah.
Did one with Joe Bruin. I was just talking to Dave Padula. I'm gonna do one with him. I'm supposed to do one with Vertebraker, Jose. See, I knew them guys. I talked to Vertebraker, Jose, Nemesis, Jamie Payne. I used to talk to them guys a lot.
Constant on a regular basis.
Yeah, a little bit. I never really got to talk to anybody because I was always filming. And then as I got comfortable with guys, I'd be like, do a promo. I was always trying to get promos. So I never, I talked to them. Hey, how you doing? How you been? Do a promo for me. All right. Hey, there goes so-and-so. Hey, do a promo for me. So I was never really like talking like we were now a lot, you know?
That's awesome.
All business.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then I was setting up my table, trying to sell tapes and shit back then.
Yeah, of course. Trying to make that money.
But I got a shitload of your stuff. A lot of that Yankee Pro. I'm trying to remember if you did South Coast.
I did. I was a South Coast intercoastal champion. I think that's what they had for almost a year, I think, or at least like a few months. Ricard had me as his like top heel, like mid card heel at that. And who was my manager? His name was Mark something. He was a jack dude. He was the commissioner of South Coast, and every time I'd lose the match, he'd come out with a book, some bullshit book that he found in the back, and be like, no, paragraph so-and-so on page says that this isn't how he can lose. He's the coastal champion. So the match would restart, and I would win via some like shady shit.
No shit.
Yeah, it was cool.
And that's when I was doing that NEWA thing, Mikey B come in, he come over there, and then he was with the score. The score come over there.
Yeah.
What's his name? Handsome Todd was there. You know, what's his name had just started out. Malonis had just started out there. He was doing the Big Bubba, son of Big Bubba gimmick.
That was
with
probably
the
on
Mighty
my.
Mini.
I think that was probably. I think I left in like 2005 or 6. So it was probably.
This was 2003 into 2004.
So I was Yankee when they split. I was Yankee at first, and then they moved me over to the South Coast, which I had a blast on the South Coast.
Yeah.
Cool.
I used to do a lot of the Bridgewater Bob's Place shows where nobody showed up. You remember them shows?
That little
there'd be like 5 people in the crowd. I got all them filmed.
It was like a bar. Stryker and I had a ladder match against the Dam there once. It was probably I was greener than freaking this shirt. You know what I'm saying?
I did an interview with Matt. Matt did some interviews for me. Really? I didn't do a full interview. He filmed them and sent them in to me. I was trying to get Vin, but Vin's like, I don't interview. He wants to do it. He said he'll do it, but he's like, I don't got much to say. I don't know. Matt usually does it. Maybe we could do it together. He says he'll do it, but he keeps making excuses, kind of. I'll talk to him online for an hour, texting back and forth. I'm like, dude, we could have just done the interview, you know?
I knew you got much to say.
All right, let's get this started because I'll talk forever about wrestling.
Let's do it, bro.
I was talking to Vega, and we start talking, and then he brings up Puerto Rico. And he's like, oh, down Puerto Rico. And he starts mentioning names, and I start throwing them back at him. He's like, shit, you know that? Oh, shit. I'm like, oh, the 87th anniversary show. He's like, holy shit. And he started talking about Cologne's Sons. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I was watching. And they turned on each other. And he's like, he was just shocked. I knew it. He was like, oh, it's good to have somebody to talk to this shit about. Nobody knows this shit. I'm like,
nobody follows the Puerto Rico, you know?
Yeah, especially back then in the 80s and stuff when they were big. And then he started talking about, he's like, oh, he was just amazed that he could even have a conversation about it, you know?
Somebody. That's cool.
All right, I'll do a lead in, you know, chatting with Chop. I'm sitting here with Suicidal Silva. And I usually start off with how'd you meet Stallion? What was your first impression of him? First Primal show. What was your impression walking in on Primal? And we'll go from there.
All right.
Shit. Hold on with paperwork. Yep.
Good, because you can help refresh my memory.
Right. Well, a lot of times I'll bring stuff up and you'll go, oh, yeah, you know, refresh you of things.
So before we get my first match, I think it was with Vertebrae. Am I correct with Primal? I know I wrestled Kid Charisma at one of the Primal shows. I think I did 3 in total.
The second show, you fought Charisma for the light heavyweight title.
Okay, I remember that one. It was a different venue, I believe, too.
That was Club Stars.
Yep, that's right. The first one was that wasn't that little, but that place where ECW used to go to. The racetrack. That
was Revere with King Kong Bundy.
Yep.
That show I've never seen. I do not have on video. I've been piecing together what people say.
I think I worked.
But I know you fought Charisma.
The second one.
Yeah, that's actually the third show. But is that your second show? I'm not sure if you were on the first show.
I did 2 in Revere and 1 at Club Stars, I believe. It could have been the other way around, but I know the first one was in Revere.
Your first show was in Revere?
Yeah, because I remember being super stoked because I was a huge ECW mock, and I remember driving by the Big Dig and all that shit.
I think your first one was at Stars versus Charisma.
Really? All right. The first one?
Yeah. Because that was on April 29th. Stop the Mayhem. Vert and Kyle Storm did a dog collar match.
Okay, so maybe I got my things turned around. So maybe that was the first, and then after that came
the very first show they ever had was Primal Beginnings. It was them against NEWA.
So I didn't.
This is one I don't think you were on.
Okay.
Dave Donovan, Vert, and Padula did a three-way fireball match.
I don't
It was like
believe I
6
was that
hours long. There was everybody there. It was
I don't
like
believe
basically a tryout to see who could make Primal.
Okay.
That don't sound familiar to you, right?
No. I was also on another one with the Pitbulls were there too.
I think the Pitbulls were on the same show as Bundy, but they were on more than one show. And then they come back. This is probably the one you're thinking of. So let me run through it real quick. That's the first show we don't think you were on. The second show was in April, a month later. Stop the Mayhem. That was Primal against which I was gonna run through this, but we'll run through it real quick. It was Primal against Mayhem Independent Wrestling, MIW, and Hardcore Wrestling Federation, Joe Bruin.
That's what it was.
And it was Vert against Kyle in a dog collar match. You against Charisma for light heavyweight. This, I think, is your debut.
Probably the first one.
And Millennium Killers were on it, which was Ali and Gino. They killed the Excommunicados. Like, just went in and squashed them. That was like the opening match. Drago against Thunder. Tiny the Terrible and Travis Savage did an angle with Jiggity Jen out there.
That's right.
That's the one she says she's pregnant. They do the pregnancy angle. She says she's pregnant out there. Butcher Brannigan was there against Thrash in a hardcore bamboo stick match. Stallion come out with the light heavyweight title and brought you out to fight Charisma. I think that was your debut.
I think so too.
All right. Yeah, and then Vert versus Kyle and dog collar match was right after you guys followed you guys up. And then Padula and Dave Donovan did that barbed wire match as the main event. They have both got like tangled all in barbed wire. They tore it up. And then the show after that was the Bundy show, you and Charisma. And then the next show after that was in September, like 3 months later, returned to Revere and Revere again. And it was you against Khan for the number one contender light heavyweight. The Pitbulls were on there. Cronus was on there.
That's it. Damn, I don't even remember Khan, bro.
Khan was George. That was George I was talking about.
George Carroll?
Blew the mist. He blew a green mist in your face or something,
That's
I think.
right. Holy shit, I forgot all about that.
That's George.
That's George Carroll?
Yeah, that's who I was talking about.
No shit.
Yeah, you fought him on that show.
That's right. And then now it's come back to me. After that match, because I think I lost that match, I grabbed the mic without telling anybody, and I was like, "What the F was that?" Blah blah blah. And I could see people getting like, "Shut up."
Yeah. We'll get into that, but I'm just trying to remember. And next show was in November, and I think you no-showed, and they called you out on it on the mic.
Oh, really? Damn, who called me out of that? Probably Vert, huh?
I don't know. I'll have to. I wrote this all down so long ago when we first talked. I made these notes, which are fresh in my head. Now it's been so long, I forget.
Right.
If it was then, I would have remembered all this fresh.
I bet you it was Vert because
I'm thinking it was Jose, but let me look. Go ahead, keep talking.
It could have been. So I had a valet who was at that time my girlfriend.
Cinnamon?
Yeah, and Vertebraker. After her and I broke up, I think he used her to be a valet at the next show, and that may have been some sort of the call out there. And I was like, "Peace, have fun," like get that shit off my hands.
And I want to say you were brought up when I interviewed Vert, and he had good things to say about you.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
And he said that he'd probably be surprised because I think he mentioned that, but he goes, which I think I was just saying I think it would be a surprising thing what people say about each other in these things.
You think back then it's all, and even, what it is, man, too, like people grow up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
At that age, I thought I was, something special, but then you grow up and you face life and you realize that everybody's fighting right. A battle you don't even know about, you know what I mean? So you can't really you should,
especially shit like that. If it's about a girl like 20 years ago, you're like, Vert was cool, dude. Fuck. He'll be like, Louis was a cool dude. Who gives a fuck about that chick?
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of people are like, oh, me and him had problems at one time, but I love that dude. He's fucking cool.
Squash
I've
it.
had so many people say that in these interviews that are like,
That's
he
great.
probably thinks I don't like him. I have heat, but we don't. I love that dude. You know, I've had a lot
That's
of dudes
cool.
say that.
That's cool.
Charisma, Rising Park. I was trying to find who said that. I'm all for outside the ring stories. I'm all for personal opinion. You know, I want stories, memories, that type of thing. I'm not boom, boom, boom. A lot of people try to like stay in, oh, I got no more memories of that match. I don't care. Do you remember anything that went on backstage? What's your, hey, what do you remember about Balls Mahoney when you met him? What do you remember about John Cronin? You know, that's the type of thing. I don't remember that night, but me and Jose one time did this or whatever. That's the type of shit.
I got you, man.
Okay, here we go.
This is the Puerto Rican Punisher Baby telling you to check out Chop's videos on YouTube. He's got the best collection of classics in New England wrestling and professional wrestling in general. So go ahead, subscribe, give him a follow, give him a like, and hit the bell notification so that you get the latest videos when they drop. Y no te olvides que guste o no te guste, Chop Videos, esa es la que hay.